Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwartner, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live broadcast. And today we have the honor and pleasure of speaking with Susan Perry. Susan, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Gerhard, it's great to be here with you.
You know what I'm excited about today is that we have you as a keynote speaker at the Sales 3.0 conference. It's actually our CRO Summit in Las Vegas on June 5th and 6th. Thank you for joining us.
I love being here. Thank you for having me.
So, could you give us a little bit of a preview of what you will cover with the audience?
Absolutely. I first let me share. I've spent my entire career, 25 plus years, helping leaders and organizations lead and manage change. And I did this in the corporate world, and I'm now doing it as a consultant. I've been doing this for 5 years on my own right now. And I love helping all different sizes of organizations help them get the benefits from the changes that they are making, the ROI, the investments. And so, what I'm passionate about is teaching leaders how to do this, how to manage and lead change in an intentional, deliberate, people centric, unified way so that they accelerate their changes. I like to say, I like to bring velocity to value, which I know is so needed today. And, that's how I would describe a little bit about me. And what I'm going to be talking about in Vegas, Gerhard, is, sharing a little bit about why this topic is so important today. And I don't know about you, but I'm hearing and I am seeing that our current reality is that we're living in a change-soaked world right now, right? It's not slowing down. It's not stopping. So change is in front of us, no matter what we're talking about, and it's only going to get worse. So we're gonna talk a little bit about why that's important. And I love the fact that organizations. There's lots of changes going on out there. I think you probably have a tremendous pulse on that as well, given the organizations that you are talking to, working with, and it's a good thing that it's a topic out there and it's top of mind. So we're going to do a deep dive not only into why it's important, but I'm going to share some ways in which to navigate change in a way that gets those results and gets people engaged.
Susan, I totally agree with you. I see the same things that you are describing, that there are massive changes in society, in politics, in business, with customers, with technology, and it can be overwhelming. And I think the only thing that does not change is our reluctance to change.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people out there that are reluctant to change, and we're seeing that. What I think is a good thing, Gerhard, is organizations are making changes. That's a good thing. They need to stay relevant. They need to stay competitive. They need to make changes. But what's not a good thing is the 70% failure rate that these initiatives are having. And that's the reluctance. That's how that reluctance is playing out. I mean, do we really think that it's acceptable for only, say, 3 out of 10 of the initiatives that we're driving to be successful? I would
Right.
say probably not, right? And so what's interesting is these efforts aren't failing because of a bad solution or a bad idea. That's not the reason why these initiatives are breaking down and there's that reluctance that you're talking about. They're breaking down because organizations aren't putting a change plan together, wrapping their initiatives around a change plan to move it forward, to make sure that they see those results. So, there are a lot of conversations happening right now, right? How do we resuscitate our revenue? Already, I mean, we're just finishing the first quarter, and these are already some of the conversations that are happening. How do we
Yeah, and
increase our sales? And something as simple as how do we get people to do what we need them to do?
what you said that the biggest change is adapting to the way buyers buy.
The biggest change in terms of adapting the way buyers buy, well,
Yeah,
there are so many choices right now, and they're also being very cautious. I
yeah.
think that there's a lot of caution out there. They don't know how to navigate the change themselves. And what is interesting is I've created this simple model that distills how do you navigate change. I mean, buyers making decisions, that's a change in and of themselves. So this model that I've developed, not only regardless of what kind of change you're making, it distills the essence of the road that people need to travel and how they do that in a way that makes it easier for them. I mean, it helps them to see the pathway to where it is they are today, where they need to be, and they can see that gap and how do they need to get there.
So would you be able to give me an estimate of a percentage, what percent of change that companies are going through is reactive and what percentage is proactive?
I can't give you an exact percent, but I think there's a balance. There are those organizations that are leaders that are very strategic and planful in the changes that they need to make. And those folks are, are smart about what they're doing, when they're going to do it. The other side of the equation are those that have caught themselves flat-footed, those that it seems that, oh, the environment all of a sudden is a surprise and now they have to react. I think this reaction mode speaks a little bit to how they are operating internally.
Right.
And so when you don't have, a plan, a strategic plan with a way in which to activate that plan with your people, it makes it even more difficult. I can tell you that on average, right now, there are at least 10 initiatives that an employee is dealing with inside their organization. So that's incredible. If imagine you're an employee doing your job in an organization and you've got, all of these initiatives. And again, for probably very good reasons. But the way in which organizations are approaching these initiatives are really causing chaos. They're causing lack of engagement. And again, I'll go back to the word that you used earlier. It's that reluctance or the resistance that, they're seeing. And, the last thing we need when we need to move our organizations forward is for your employees who are really those people that are bringing the changes to life. The last thing you need is for them to be putting on the brakes or running for the door, or even yet worse, doing nothing, just continuing on the path that they're on.
I think there are three choices. You do nothing, and change happens to you. You do the wrong thing, and you change in the wrong direction. And
Yeah.
then you use your system and framework where you've planned change and accelerated change, where you move in the right direction and grow.
Right. Absolutely. That, you have to change or you die, right? I mean,
Right.
we all can think about organizations that were very reluctant to change. I mean, let's go back to Kodak, right? That was an organization that really lost its way, and it's a shame.
Yeah, and they were the inventors of digital photography. I remember
Correct.
that first digital
Correct.
Kodak camera, and it looked better than what Nikon and Canon had. So they were
Correct.
innovative, and they were change leaders in their field, and yet didn't take advantage of the addressable market that the other companies seized and moved ahead of them.
Yes, absolutely.
So those are change victims.
Those are change victims. We need to be change accelerators. We need to make our people understand that, it's not a one size fits all. We need to make sure and enable those folks that are bringing it to life, which, is
So what
something
you're
that,
really talking about fundamentally, it is the mindset, and then it is the skill set for changing.
correct. Absolutely. I think that, one of the things that I see not happening is early on in a change is that very thing when we are trying to get our leaders coalesced around a change, having everybody understand their role in the change, engaging them in terms of what it's going to look like, how is it going to be experienced. And, we want to be intentional about these things. We don't want to just have it unfold. I think that, when you do that, when you get into the bumpy road ahead, everybody is caught like a deer in the headlights. They don't know what to do. But if you're carving out their role and we're equipping them to fully support all of the transitions that they and their people need to make throughout the change journey, it's a much different experience.
So
I really, go ahead.
Well, what comes to mind, Susan, is when I listen to you, is that change is different from a New Year's resolution that you make in January and forget in March. And it needs to be an ongoing commitment to transformation and adaptation and agility. And those are qualities that the managers need to develop in their team and become the change leaders.
Yes.
And not the change sufferers.
Correct. They need to see themselves, and we, the leaders of our organizations, need to see them as change activators and change enabler, and making sure that they understand that role. They are, yes, managers, but they also are more so those activators and those leaders. And what does that mean for them? What does that mean in terms of how they show up, and what do they need to be doing more of, less of, differently? That's a change in and of itself.
Susan, can you tell us a little bit more about the development of your secret sauce to helping organizations change?
Absolutely. I would love to. I created this model after doing this for so many years and seeing countless organizations not see their changes be successful. I'll ask you, have you ever heard the words relaunch or retrain or recommunicate, reboot? Those are all code words for the change didn't work out the first time around. And so after working with sales organizations and see these efforts time and time again get relaunched, I said, there's got to be a better way. And so what I have done is taken my experience and distilled it again into a 7-step model that takes organizations and their leaders through change in a real intentional, unified, people-centric, which I think is a real differentiator. We need our people collaborating with us and on this change journey with us. It should never feel like something has happened to us. And so my model approaches it in this way. It starts with assess. You really have to have an understanding of where you are and where you're going and what does success look like. I can't tell you, Gerhard, how many leaders go into their change and they can't articulate what that success looks like, at least not at a detailed level, which is really required when we expect to do change well. And then we talked already about getting our leaders aligned around how they need to perform and behave, and really understanding all of our audiences and our culture and the change, because there really isn't a one size fits all. We should never be thinking that we're just going to pick something off the shelf. It really needs to be tailored to the change itself, to the audience, and to the organization's culture. And then that change needs to be sequenced in a way that's very custom, because again, not all those audiences are the same. And then once we activate our changes, we want to make sure that we're analyzing all of the information. We're getting, we have a live pulse, we're getting feedback. And more importantly, with that feedback, whether it's good or bad, we're taking it into consideration and we're doing something. We're translating that into on the fly actions. I mean, real time, working real time is very, very important. And it's not only important for your change to accelerate, but it's important for your people to understand that you care and you're listening. And so that's an element. And ultimately, my model winds up with this adapting, as I mentioned, to adjust based on what you're hearing. And then we adopt. We finally see people embracing a new way of working, using new tools that we need them to use, which when we do all this in a sequenced, deliberate, and people-centric way, we accelerate our results. And the other thing is, we don't get into the re's. We're not relaunching, rebooting, recommunicating, retraining. Those are all important elements, but we don't want to do them 2 times around. We want to do it once, and we want to do it really, really well.
Well, Susan, I'm so excited because it seems like you cracked the code that allows sales organizations to lead change and transform it into cash.
Yes, and that's the goal, isn't it? We want to see our businesses successful. We want to stay relevant. We want to stay competitive. We want to stay ahead. And we want to bring our people with us, because
right. Exactly.
there's so much energy that we need, hearts and minds, right? We need them focused on helping us to achieve this. We can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Organizations don't change. It's the people within the organizations that bring these changes to life.
Yeah, and your model helps sales leaders change people, process, and technology, and integrate it in a new way of functioning that gets them far better results.
Absolutely. And my hope is, and this is what I, again, am so passionate about and work so hard to do, is to leave my expertise behind. Because what you want is you want your organization to be equipped to handle any change. And I feel as though my model is somewhat of a GPS. It helps those leaders, it helps the organization get to their destination. And we're building that change capability because, as we started this conversation, change isn't slowing down. It is not stopping, and it's only going to get worse. And we're future-proofing our organizations, and we're also taking care of our people, because we're doing this in not a chaotic way, but very
so the uncomfortable questions that sales leaders need to ask themselves. Change is accelerating all around you. Are you running fast enough to keep up with it? Are you a change leader, and do you have a change methodology? And if you want to learn more, come to Vegas to our CRO Summit. Susan Perry is the expert in the field, and we're proud to have her. So please sign up. We're going to share a link below this broadcast where you can see Susan live in Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Gerhard. I really appreciate your bringing light to this important topic. I know you know the importance, and I can't wait to share it in Vegas.
Thank you.